What if you could measure your employer brand as a single number? What if you could track it over time? We do that. It's called the Employer Brand Index. Continuously measuring what's positive and negative about you as an employer from a candidate perspective is the key. The Employer Brand Index helps you measure your employer brand and validates your perceptions or draw up a few surprises, both good and bad. The Employer Brand Index works best when done over time to see how things are changing. Some companies use it as a baseline before they launch their EVP. Others add in some talent competitors to see how they stack up. Stay on top of your employer brand. Go to employerbrandindex.co to learn more.
Hey, sons of Vason, it's Jürgen Sundberg here with the Employer Branding Podcast, brought to you by your friendly team here at Link Humans out of London. This is, of course, the show where we have an employer brand leader on to answer questions about their company, the talent landscape, what employer brand looks like in their organization, how it's deployed, and lots of tips and tricks along the way. With that, let's start the show. Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jürgen. It's so good to be here.
My pleasure. So please tell our audience who you are and what is it that you do.
Amazing. I am Laura Masters. I am the director of our global employer and talent brand for Expedia Group. And I am talking to you from Seattle, Washington.
Early start for you today. So Expedia Group, I think most of us are familiar with Expedia from a consumer perspective. We might have booked a vacation or a flight. But what's the group all about?
I'm so glad you asked, and I love to talk about the totality of our offering because before I started working for Expedia Group, I actually did not realize sort of the full scope of everything that Expedia Group does. So really, truly at our core, we are powering travel for everyone, everywhere. And we do that through this really incredibly vast global platform that we have. So we provide ultimately industry-leading tech solutions to fuel not only travelers to travel the world, but also our partners that we work with for them to be able to grow and succeed. So what I also love to think about is the fact that we are ultimately enabling people to create lifelong memories. And that's something that's really central to everything that we do. And we do that through our three hero brands, and that's Brand Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. And so along with that is also, of course, we've got our partners that we really think about how do we fuel their growth. So when you think about going on to any of our travel platforms, when you go into the app or go onto the desktop, those partners that you see on those different experiences, we work really closely with them to enable them to grow their business. So we've got a B2B kind of commercial side of the house that brings innovative tech and distribution solutions to those partners. And we've got a really cool advertising business. So this is really a leading traveler media network where, anybody who's looking to reach travelers globally, they would work with us to do that. So it's pretty cool because it's not just sort of this one thing, it's many things. And I think as an employee, once you sort of enter into the ecosystem that is Expedia Group, you realize there's all these amazing facets that make this business really complex, but exciting and dynamic, especially because I think we really are creating the future of travel technology. So yeah, that's what we do.
Amazing. Okay. And because you're about travel, when you're attracting people to work for you and retaining and so on, do you look for people who have a passion for travel or interested in travel, or could if I'm more of a homebody, could I still work for Expedia Group?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. And we talk about this all the time. Innate to sort of what makes us compelling is this idea that I think many people really are attracted to the notion of travel being a force for good. And when you think about the world, and especially sort of these days, I think it is really attractive for people to consider, I want to work for a company with a really strong mission and a purpose that values, bringing good into the world. So I would say oftentimes it is a real leading contributor to people when they want to work for a company that actually, does contribute to goodness. But it's also for many people, it's not, and we've done a lot of insight to understand what is important to folks in certain markets and certain types of talent. They just want to get in and do the best work of their lives. And they want to solve really complex, meaty problems. And we have a really big tech org, and that's really what they're looking to do. And it just so happens to be that we're in travel. But the first thing they want to know is like, do I get to get in and actually solve some really tough stuff where I'm going to learn and really make a difference? So I would say it's a yes and like no, you don't have to be passionate about travel, but I think it is a compelling reason for a lot of people to want to join our company.
And we'll get into more of this later on, but I'm thinking in terms of the tone from the top. Do you see your leaders? Do they travel much? Do they go on Instagram and talk about travel?
Oh my gosh, I mean, yes. And I think we are all a big part of our social presence is about showing people out in the world having experiences and doing work through that as well. And so you'll see our CEO, you'll see members of our travel leadership team who are out traveling, meeting with our partners, meeting with travelers. And I think it is just an inherent part of kind of like how we show up in the world is honestly, it's through travel. And we are super passionate about it. We have amazing relationships with our partners. So we have to ultimately be out there traveling, experiencing their products. So I think that's pretty exciting. And it's innate to the business that we're in. And yes, those leaders are very passionate about travel and do a lot of traveling and talk a lot about it.
Sounds like the best place to be then.
It's,
Right.
it's pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about Expedia Group's employer brand. How did it come about? What's the structure? Where are you at now in terms of maturity?
Yeah. Well, very interestingly, I'll give a little bit of context. I started my career in sort of on the creative agency side of things. And when I came to Expedia Group, I was focused in on building our corporate brand. And then I ended up having an opportunity to move over to our talent acquisition team to really unpack and figure out what is our employee value proposition and how do we refresh our employer brand. I mean, this was like shortly after the pandemic, we were going through transformation. We really needed to codify these things. And I had this amazing opportunity to come in and help us uncover these things. And so through that work, we had a lot of great ahas. We codified our employer brand and EVP, and it's been a number of years now. And to be honest with you, like we're finding what worked for us then is obviously not working for us now. And especially in this climate, I mean, when you think about everything that's happening in the world, and travel is such a dynamic industry. And so, what we have found is that employer brand that worked for us maybe a couple years ago, it's been evolving almost by the day in many ways. So we really focus on keeping it fresh, relevant, adaptive. We keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening with our employees, what's happening sort of in the world at large. But at the end of the day, we do go back into sort of the soul of what makes this a great place. And that is travel being a force for good, about helping our people, really connect to that truth. Um, and we have this amazing mission and purpose that's centered around strengthening connections, building bridges, and broadening our horizons. And that's really inherent to what we're delivering to our people. So that's I would say the core of the employer brand, and all the sort of proof points that surround it. I would say really sort of ebb and flow depending on sort of where we are, based on what's happening in the world and what's happening on the inside. Because we also went through a really massive transformation about a year ago with getting a new CEO, all new leadership team. So my biggest learning through this is nothing should ever be 100% set in stone. Keep that clay really like, it needs to be clay that can be, formed and shaped and moldable. Exactly. And I think that's what we're really looking to do. And And honestly, since I've joined the team, we've seen some awesome growth and real impact with our work. So we've grown our team over the last couple of years, and to me, that's a true demonstration of like the work is working, and it's compelling, and it's delivering results and attracting and bringing in incredible talent, setting us up for growth.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. So the employer brand has been transformed over time and is agile. Can you give us an example or two of what were some of the focus areas, 2 or 3 years ago versus now? What's something that's resonating with talent now versus back then?
Yeah, that's a great question. I might talk about there's two kind of big things for us. Obviously, social is a big lever that we pull. Um, and we have a couple amazing content sort of creators. And we work really hard to mine stories within our organization and push those out in a authentically as of a way as possible. And we try really hard for it to not be about Expedia Group, the company, sort of showing up and talking, but about the people of Expedia Group showing up and sharing their experiences. And so, one of the things that we've done that I think has been really exciting is to just have a little bit more playfulness and fun within social. And that allows us to really humanize, the company. And so we've hopped on a lot more sort of trend oriented content. So it feels really social first versus corporate. And that's working really well for us versus where we were a couple of years ago. Another thing, events are really key for us. And I know, events are obviously have always been a part of, connecting with talent firsthand. We used to show up in really big ways. And now I'm finding actually it's not about the bigness. It's about the intentionality and about, how are you showing up in really meaningful ways to people to really see that return on investment. So I would say there's a lot more intentionality with what events are we showing up at, how are we showing up, and how are we really ensuring we're making meaningful connections with talent. Um, I know, digital always is going to deliver because you can obviously be really targeted, but I think there's still a ton of value in actually being in the world and connecting with people firsthand on that human scale. Um, so I would say those are big for us. We also are doing a lot of work to really be targeted with a lot of our, digital content. And that's really delivering for us as well. So just being a lot more thoughtful, a lot more focused, and really trying to deliver a lot more value with when we say we're gonna, pursue XYZ channels, like let's get really tight and focused on like what does it look like to actually deliver true impact and meet people where they are.
Okay, so let me throw that back at you. So give us an example of where you really made meaningful impact and yeah, really touched people where it mattered.
Sure. I will say we did I think, a really compelling campaign. And this was around, we developed this platform and it's our well traveled platform. And for us, this was, we really wanted to think about how do we continuously really understand how to connect with diverse communities around the world. And when we think about diverse communities, that's anybody coming from underrepresented groups. And so we came up with this idea of what does it mean to be well traveled, especially if you're from a community that maybe hasn't always had the opportunities to become well traveled. So we built this platform that we can basically scale to different communities, and we launched it through our community that is Beam. That's our Black Expedian and Allies movement community. And so Black and Well Traveled became almost a rallying cry for this community where, whether it was showing up at events with, this community loud and proud wearing t-shirts saying, I am Black and well traveled, to social media where, folks from this community could talk about what does that mean to really have a point of view around this. And I can't tell you how many people when somebody from our company would be wearing that t-shirt in an airport, let's say, I mean, people would approach them and say like, that I connect with that. Like, tell me more.
Oh,
And so I think that has been a really cool unlock for us is just really understanding, let's get into like, what's a key sort of insight that we can unlock and then really expand upon with some richness to connect with people authentically.
amazing. Okay. And if we continue down the activation path, so where would you say you have most success, or where do you have most content out in terms of EVP employer brand to get in front of prospective talent?
I mean, I think there's a lot of this, traditional channels that you might expect. It's like sort of table stakes, of course. Social is a huge thing for us, and we put a lot of time and investment into our Expedia Group social content on LinkedIn. Um, we put a lot of time into, Instagram as well, where we have a lot of fun and really connect with people there. The career website, of course, we continue to invest because, actually we're finding our dwell rates are increasing. People are spending more time on the site as we're doing a lot more sort of authentic video content and storytelling around the different divisions, around the humans of Expedia Group. So, wherever we see sort of those lifts, we realize, okay, it's working. Let's continue to do more there. And when we're seeing like, maybe it's not working so well, we sort of dial back on those things. So I think really testing and learning. Um, we also do a lot of work internally. We've reactivated our people. And so we have a new ambassador program that we've just launched. And, I think a lot of companies do this sort of thing. But what I think is a little bit different with what we're doing right now is we're actually through our different divisions that we have internally, we are basically saying, hey, if you want to be a part of this program, we invite you in, but you actually have to almost fill out a form
Yeah.
and we select people who are really excited about it, who have passion to do this kind of work, who want to show up, whether it's at events, through content, through different channels. That's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to necessarily engage in that way. But we go through and we actually sort of have them, talk about like why they want to be a part of this program. They opt in, we select them, and then we create really customized experiences for these ambassadors. And we train them, we give them tools, we give them really fun, special, merchandise and swag that they can feel proud of. And then we sort of set them free. And it's been really exciting because through a lot of intentionality with this program, I just got goosebumps. I'm sorry, because I was just thinking about some of our latest work. I mean, they feel like so a sense of pride around being a part of this program. And so we're seeing a huge amount of increase in the content that they're pushing out there. We see when we bring them to events, they are so excited about showing up and representing the company. And that creates even more engagement with the people that we talk to and meet with. When they go to their own sort of business events, they're talking about the company in new, profound ways. So it's been a really cool unlock for us that we're going to continue to do across the organization that really just feels really exciting because I think you can launch these programs and sure, they can perform for you, but what I'm seeing is like there's so much intentionality to really bring these folks together and make it feel really special that we're seeing some really good boosts in that work.
Amazing. So these advocates or ambassadors, they get to build their personal brands
Yeah.
alongside just the
So
Expedia
that
Group,
it's a
right?
win-win.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they get some swag. Now, do you also have, is there a specific hashtag to go with this? Do you use any technology underpinning this?
Yeah, I almost see them as like our influencers. And so, it's kind of a similar approach when you think about sort of traditional social media and influencer type things. So we do have like a hashtag ambassador, EG ambassador hashtag. So anytime they post, it's like almost like sponsored by kind of a thing. So we can also see like, okay, how much content are they pushing out there and is it resonating and whatnot? We've got our Life at Expedia Group hashtag. So we also sort of do that, which I think is pretty common as well. But that gives us a good opportunity to do some measuring. What was the other question?
Do you have a technology platform helping you with it, or are people doing it manually?
Yes, no, we do. We have an in-house, we have our technology platform that folks can go into, and basically we mine it every single day. We are putting story after story into the platform. And we also try to gamify a lot. So
Yes. Yeah.
the beauty of working for a travel company, we've got some awesome benefits that have to do with travel. And one of the things that we have what we call travel awards. And so we like to get people using the platform and not overusing it, because there's also, we find some people, it's like when they're pushing out advertising, oh, too much. Exactly. So we try to educate them on the right levels in which to kind of share that content. And then we award people. So by, doing this and doing it well, people get these travel awards, and then they get to go out and see the world. And then hopefully they publish a story from that as well. So it becomes a virtuous cycle in many ways, and something that, we really work hard to cultivate.
Amazing. Okay, right. How do you go about measuring results? So, it's the success of the team and the function, and also are your leaders? What are they interested in hearing about?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the questions I always get asked is like, are we seeing hires from this work?
Hmm.
And, I think that has been a really interesting ongoing conversation, because I think we can work really hard and see a lot of awesome top of funnel activity, and it's just like, how are we moving people through the funnel? And then how are we ensuring that amazing best fit talent are getting to that hiring manager? And then ultimately, like, it's on them to hire those folks, right? So, like, there's only so much that we can control in this work. But we do try to really measure from, the top of the funnel all the way on through, all the way through to hire. So that's something we're still trying to kind of unpack and honestly, like, see where are we getting the most amount of hires from. But I would say there's really three core areas, and this is what we are really focused in on. And I've talked about social. Social for us is not about followership. We can talk to almost a million people, but if this is not engaging, valuable content, like, it doesn't matter. So we see followership as really a vanity number, but are we driving value for the people that are following us already? Are they engaging with us? Are they, in conversation with us? Are we building loyalty that way? And I would say, our Instagram, we're doing a lot of work there. We've seen like a 200% year over year boost there as we've continued to create more enriching, engaging content, experimenting more with sort of on trend content there. And that's been really rewarding and fun to see. Like, people are enjoying it and seeing value there, and it's compelling them. I had a conversation with one of our SVPs who said, you influenced me to join this company. Like, I just love the content so much because it felt like, look at these cool humans. I want to be a part of this. So I see that as a lot of value. So we really do a lot of work to measure that. Of course, our career site, that's the gateway in. So we look at how are we continuously thinking about refining that experience. So we have seen a lot more engagement there. And it's a lot of it has to do with just the storytelling we're doing on the website. But our applications have doubled, honestly, in the last year. And I think a lot of that, too, is because of the highly targeted campaigns that we're creating to then drive people to the career site. So, of course, measuring and monitoring that. And then advocacy. It's all about this ambassador program. And so how much work we're doing to get people to really feel a sense of connection to our EVP, to our employer brand, to understand the value, and that, when you go out there and share with your networks, talk about the company, advocate for the company, that's delivering real success for us. So those are really the three key areas that we focus on. And of course, there's like a million other metrics that we look at just to see sort of, how are we doing across, of course, our CRM. We do a lot of outreach there, and we use all the traditional, vehicles. But I would say if I had to categorize it, those are the top three leading things that ensure, yes, we're delivering real impact here.
Amazing. Now, we also partnered with Expedia Group to deliver some insights with the Employer Brand Index. I'm curious to hear how that's landed inside the business and what the impact.
Thank you for bringing it back to that, because we had a sense of a lot of the things that we found through running the Employer Brand Index, but it was just so validating when we partnered with you all to really do some of this rich research and insight. And so what we've been keenly focused on is really getting into like, okay, we know we're hearing from people directly. These are the key strengths that we have, but we're not hearing enough about some of these other opportunities that we have. So we have really centered in on our messaging coming out of doing this exercise with Link Humans, where we realize, oh, we don't talk enough about the career journey at Expedia Group. And we've got a lot of great things that we can celebrate there. So let's really ramp that up. We know our mission and purpose are really compelling, but we're not talking about that enough. So let's ramp that up. So it's given us a lot of great things to just say, like, this is where we prioritize and focus. This is where it's compelling, unique, differentiated for us. So that's been a really huge unlock for us and has been, for me, especially validating of like, yeah, we know this to be true, but this just helps us to underscore it and gives us the data to say we're doing the right thing. Let's keep doing it. And then we can measure, quarter over quarter, year over year to see like, how are we moving the needle on these things?
Absolutely. Amazing. So, Laura, what are some of your top tips to employer brand professionals listening to this right now?
Okay, I've got, let's see, 3 top tips. And the first, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, but just this kind of staying flexible and adaptable and be open to changes. And I think about it as I learned to surf a year ago, and it has been the best analogy for my life and my job. I think it's, keeping your knees bent at all times and being ready to pivot. And I think that's, having the ability to be just dynamic and to remember like brands are alive. They need to be able to grow, to ebb, to flow. And so really staying flexible and open and adjusting as landscape change, as human needs change, as the world changes. Like to me, that is a huge key takeaway for myself and something that I would recommend to folks. The next one is, I think, really staying relevant. And I think that's obvious, but it almost goes back to the flexibility thing. Like, how do you constantly understand the humans that you're looking to make meaningful connections with? What's important to them? And really appealing to them in meaningful ways, not just things that you think would be important to them, but really getting under the hood and understanding what's meaningful to them. So I think relevance is key. And through that, it's just understanding the people that you want to attract and retain at the company. And I would say the third learning is this notion of experimentation. And I think it's just really about testing and learning, not being too precious about things and not deploying a plan that doesn't have flexibility embedded into it, but like experiment, see what works, see what doesn't work. Some things you're going to think is, it's going to be amazing. It's going to deliver such ROI, and it falls flat.
Yep.
And so it's like, well, then let's actually press pause on that. Let's try something else. So I think, experimentation is a mindset, and it's something we do within our company a lot and something we're trying to do within our team as well. So those are my three key tips. I hope that's helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you very much. So,
Good.
Laura, what is it that makes your job so special?
Oh, this is my favorite question.
Ah.
I could go on and on. I did not know that this field even existed probably 5-7 years ago, to be honest with you. And as I've sort of parlayed my, I don't want to talk about the decades, but multiple decades of experience into this field, I used to do work for brands where it was about selling products and things that I didn't actually believe in.
Mm.
And what I get to do is change people's lives, honestly. And I find so much meaning in that. We get to help people really work in an environment for a company that I think is actually putting good into the world. We spend how much of our lives in our job. And so I feel really proud of I get to, help people connect with and find, hopefully a really enriching career. And we also get to help sort of build the business. And so this is one thing we talk about with our recruiters all the time is like, we get to meet with talent, bring them in. These could be people who are helping catapult the business to the next, level. And so I think it's a really exciting job. It's a really meaningful job. It's a really human job. And especially in this world of, I don't want to say the two letters that everybody talks about, but AI,
And
we want to feel more human now more than ever. And I think that's a big, big part of what makes it so special is it is such a human job that we get to do.
love it. Okay, so final question is, where can our listeners learn more about the employer brand of Expedia Group, and where can they connect with yourself, Laura?
Oh, yes, please. So find Expedia Group on LinkedIn. Of course, we are always looking to connect with people there. Our career website, careers.expediagroup.com. And I would love to connect with folks on LinkedIn. So look for Laura Masters on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Let's have a chat. I'm always looking to build my network and have conversations with other practitioners in this field. So yeah, I'm really excited to have the conversations with other folks who are just as passionate as I am.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
Okay, folks, there we have it. Be sure to reach out to our guest with any questions or just to connect. You can find this episode and the entire back catalogue over at employerbrandingpodcast.com, along with articles summarizing what we have learned. And if you, just like many of my dear interviewees, are interested in measuring employer brand, be sure to check out the Employer Brand Index. Of course, providing unbiased employer brand insights driven by data. It's trusted by some of the greatest companies in the world, and you can find it at linkhumans.com. Or why not get in touch with me and I'll tell you all about it as well. That is it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and catch you next time. Hey, do.
I am getting ready to go on a plane in 48 hours to Greece with my family for 2 whole juicy weeks. So that is what I am really looking forward to. It's just getting out into the world, reconnecting with my family, reconnecting with, other cultures and whatnot. So that's what's really motivating me these days.